hearing started. The public hearing is on the food truck ordinance, and I just wanted to see if there's anyone here for any comments.
Just a couple of quick questions. You guys were talking about maybe the rate was going to be different. Did you modify that?
We had, that wasn't what was voted on, so we did not modify the rate.
But you said something about in between first reading and second reading, you would maybe change. I just wanted to know.
On consideration of second reading, if the council wants to approve it, subject to a rate change, they can do that.
That's when it would happen.
As long as it doesn't change the fundamental character of the ordinance itself.
Thank you. And the days are still the same?
Correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any comments or questions about the food truck ordinance? Okay. At this time, we will conclude the public hearing on ordinance 2024-11-1 food truck ordinance, and I'll wait a minute or so, and then we will call the meeting to order. Okay, it's 6 o'clock, and we're gonna call this meeting to order. And to begin with, we have John Cahill to open us up in prayer. Ms. Phyllis, will you do roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Dale. Alderman Elder.
Here.
Alderman Langford.
Here.
Alderman Linder.
Here.
Alderman Proctor.
Here.
Alderman Rubel.
Here.
All present except Vice Mayor Dale.
Okay, at this time, we will open the floor up for any public comments. Oh, yeah, I do want to approve the minutes. First, let's see if we have a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Minutes approved. Motion made by Alderman Linder and second by Alderman Rubel. All in favor? Aye. Motion passed. Now, let's open the floor for any public comments. Okay, moving on. Additions or deletions to the agenda. I do have one addition to the agenda, and we have Michael Hayes here to talk to us about a lot over by the city park. We will move him to new business, item number 5, if we have a motion to do that.
I'll make the motion. I'll second it.
Okay. We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Like sign, motion passes. Okay, next on the agenda, we have old business, and we have a second reading on the food truck ordinance.
Good evening. This is the same ordinance that we considered last meeting, subject to the change that the council voted on, which is allowing use of the power boxes at Central Park as an exception to the requirement that food trucks be self-contained under power.
Make a motion that we pass the ordinance, but I've also got a couple of amendments to go with it. The first one is, as long as the people, the provider has a business license, city and county, I think that's enough. I don't think they'll have to buy no permit unless they're at a special event, say down at the ballpark or down at the park or whatever. Then, also, I'd like to make their days, unlimited, let them do what they need to do, and us just basically stay out of it. Because I'm gonna tell you the reason why. We've got one restaurant up on the upper end that's already closed. We've got one in Rickman down there that's supposed to close at the end of the month. I think they're gonna have a hard way to go. If there's 2 or 3 vendors there and we get $400 each, what's $1,000, $1,200 gonna do for us? So I mean, myself personally, I think as long as they've got a business license, city and the county, they won't need a permit unless they come down to the park or a special event, that type of thing, and let them do their days as they need to, and that's my motion.
A couple of notes on that. The permitting requirement is a fundamental part of this ordinance, so I don't think that is an amendment that could be passed on second reading. It can be passed and it can be considered a first reading, but it would require another reading and a public hearing before that could pass as an ordinance. Secondly, unlimited days.
Yes,
That would require a change in the zoning code, which is a separate ordinance because that's the first Thursday and Friday, or first and third Thursday and Friday of the month was an amendment to the zoning code, which is a different title and chapter. So that would require a different ordinance. That's not considered in this ordinance.
So we didn't need to just have you change it then?
I'm sorry.
Do you need to change it to fit what we're talking about?
That is a separate ordinance. So that can't be changed on second reading of this ordinance because that has nothing to do with this ordinance. The days.
Okay, I'm with David. I think it should be opened up all the time, and you know, it's not a big deal that I see, and I've got no problem with opening it up to, I don't know what's going on with my microphone, but all the time. And I don't know if anybody else has anything different to say about that, but I don't know what it takes to get that done, but I'm in favor of doing what David's talking about, having a, you know, for them to come in at all the time. And I know we probably should have done this at some point in time back, according to what we've got to do. It's all these legal. Sometimes we don't understand the readings when they're set before us, and I've had a couple of issues with some of the things that we passed and didn't understand in its entirety. And I'm with David with doing that. I don't know. I mean, I would like to see everybody have an opportunity to have availability at any time they want to sell anything with a food truck. So
Again, that would require consideration of a new ordinance because that would be an amendment to Title 11, which is the zoning code. What we are considering now, this food truck ordinance, is adding a chapter to Title 9 of the municipal code, which is separate from the zoning code. And the only reason for that is that the Thursday and Friday, first and third Thursday and Friday of the month requirement is listed in the zoning code and not in this Title IX amendment that we're considering right now. So we can do that, but that's a
so
separate
right
matter.
now we're going to pass that we're going to let them do the times that you got specified in this thing. And how do we make an amendment to, if everybody's for it? And I don't know if they are or not, but I just don't know how we go there, but I'll let you speak to that.
Well, to clarify, there aren't specific times mentioned in what we're considering right now. That's separate in the zoning code. So this does not speak to the times, and if we want to change the times, we have to change the amendment to the zoning code, which is Title 11 of the municipal code.
What's your folks' opinion on it? I say, what do you folks think about it?
I'm in agreement with y'all, but I mean, what he's saying is we've got to pass this, then have another reading to be able to do that, correct?
Well, it doesn't have to be passed. It can be voted down. You can vote no on it.
I mean, we got to vote on it. That's what I'm saying.
It's a separate matter to be considered and voted on. And anyone can make that motion, but right now, as far as rules of order, what's on the table to be considered is this amendment to Title 9 of the municipal code, which is the food truck ordinance, as amended to permit use of the power boxes at Central Park. As far as days that food trucks can operate, that's a separate code provision that needs to be changed.
So we're just voting on whether or not the power boxes can be used, correct?
No, we're voting on passing rules and regulations relative to the use of food trucks in Livingston. There's a long 4 or 5 page ordinance, which you should have in your package, that talks about the requirements for obtaining a permit to use a food truck, what's required for the application fee, what happens if a permit is refused, what appeal rights you have, how long the permit is effective for, rules and regulations with respect to use in parks or other city property, use on private property, storage and discharge of fats, grease, and oils, and the like. Rules and regulations concerning the use of food trucks. And this would add a new chapter to Title IX of the Municipal Code that does not exist. So we're making a law or passing a law that will add these provisions to the town's municipal code.
And the only change from last time is adding use of the power at Central Park.
Correct. So this is the same thing that was considered at the last meeting, the only change being, notwithstanding anything in this section to the contrary, mobile food units lawfully operating in Central Park may use the power boxes provided by the town for electrical service when available in lieu of the unit's self-contained power system.
Is that any time?
No, it's 2 days a month, isn't it?
No, I'm talking, if there's not something going on at Central Park, they can pull in down there and use their electricity, is that? No, I'm not part of that.
I thought last meeting I don't know if anyone talked about it out loud, on using it for special functions.
I think that was what we intended last week for. It was to use the power at the Central Park only for special events in the park.
Right.
But not just any time.
Not just
Okay.
anything. Is that clear in here?
And we can specify that if it's not clear. Now, as part of the permitting process, I think it provides that you have to state where you plan on situating your unit and selling the food. Now, so if that's Central Park, that doesn't specify only special events, but you would be issued a permit to operate in Central Park for a period of time.
Okay, I'm totally confused. Maybe it's because I'm too darn old. But, all right, if we approve this tonight, then what David is talking about, 2 things. 1, any day, right, David? And 2, if they have the city and county permits, there'd be no extra charge, right? Now, if we approve this tonight, and assuming all of us approve of what David is talking about, how do we get that in here? I understand about the zoning. We'd have to go before them, or you would, or somebody. How do we do that now?
It's just a separate amendment that has to be considered. So it's just a separate law in the municipal code that has to be changed. All we're doing is adding a new section of the municipal code that has all these rules and regulations that talk about food trucks, okay? If we want to change the days that the food trucks are allowed to operate, we have to amend a different section of the town's law. That's it. Now, a big part of what we're voting on tonight is whether a permit should be required. This does require a permit to operate a food truck. So if you're not in agreement with that, then I would not vote for this. But that's a legislative matter for you all to consider. But we can't change that on an amendment on second reading, because that would change a big part of what we're considering, and that has to be considered twice, go through 2 readings.
So we start over.
Correct.
But in the meantime, we pass what we've got right now, and then we work on the other.
Well, for instance, if you want to take away the permit requirement, it would make more sense to just vote this down and make a new motion to consider this without the permit requirement. Because if you pass it, then it becomes law, and then you have to change the existing law.
You sure, David? Because tonight we could vote this down and vote on no license. Can't do anything about the days.
Well, anyone
right?
can, he's withdrawn his motion. Anyone else can make another motion. There's no motion on the table right now.
Oh, I realize that, but I'm just saying that David does want to make a motion to not have an additional fee other than the county and the city license fee.
If we need to pass this, I mean, I'll put my motion back up there, but I mean, I'm just telling my point of view, I think business license, city and county is enough. And then I think anybody wants to come out and work, they will be able to.
Or if no motion is made at all on this, then no action is taken and the law doesn't pass.
If you just want to go ahead and pass it, I mean, tell me what you want to do, I don't care.
Okay. I mean, I agree with you.
What you get about these little permits or whatever, it ain't gonna make us or break us.
The other deal is using the city electricity. I mean, I don't care if they use it or not over there. It didn't. What were you talking about, Bill, when you
I
said
just
you're?
don't think the city ought to let anyone pull in down there and use electricity.
No, I'm with you on that. I see what you're saying there, but if they're not using city electricity, let somebody set up a food truck
I don't
down
have a
there.
problem.
Right, yeah, that's what I think he and I are talking about. Let somebody set up a food truck. Don't worry about plugging into our city electric and using that. I just think we need to have somebody, if we want food trucks here, let 15 or 20 of them come in. Why would they need to use, I mean, I guess there's needs for that. They can bring their own generators and I don't know. It's over my head.
Sure.
I think they were talking about using the electricity during like events where it gets really noisy using the generator. And that was the main reason to allow that to happen. So.
Reason I asked for that, we being the Downtown Revitalization Committee, about between $5,000 and $6,000 putting those services in so that there wouldn't be generators running during our events.
I guess I didn't realize that back in the day when it was all going on.
Been 9 years ago.
Yeah. I wasn't here then.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
Still stands now, I guess.
Could you clarify what the motion is? Motion to
Whatever you read there, my business license, city and county, you said we couldn't put in there, because the permits and days, you said we couldn't put in there.
The days is a separate
Okay, so
thing to consider.
that's what you got on paper right here for second reading. I'm gonna move to pass.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor? All opposed? Like sign, motion passes. Okay, and I'll have to say I was very confused about that too. I had to talk to Andre several times to tell me the difference between the zoning and this myself, so anyway.
Now we want to work on getting it opened up at all times.
You can do that. You can make that motion.
Do it right now.
Did you just make the motion?
I make a motion that we open the food truck business to anybody that wants to come in and have a food truck. But not necessarily use our city power. And
Unless it's,
unless it's an event that we're having at the city.
Central Park.
That's the Central Park, right.
Well, you can do that. You can make that motion.
made the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table by Bruce Elder and a second by Lance Rubel to revisit the zoning ordinance regarding the food trucks to open it up to any day of the week. Correct? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
But now I got a question on that. But keeping the same time that's in here, 9 to 9,
That wouldn't change what the council just passed. That's a separate matter.
Yeah. Okay, everybody was in favor. Any opposed? Okay, like sign, motion passes. Next on the agenda, we have Jean Gant, who is going to talk about downtown revitalization first.
I have a big list of things to talk about tonight. First, as somebody said a minute ago, I get to tell y'all for the first time and tell the truth, Church Street is finished. It looks good. Thank you.
We need the striping down though, don't we?
I think that's next.
All right.
Yeah, that's the little polishing's got to be done, but by and large, it's finished. It's been a couple of years in the making, and it's turned out to be a very good project. That's a real show place down through there now. So beyond that, we'll put that aside. It wasn't even on your list to talk about, but I wanted to bring it up so I could say it. The next thing I want to talk about is the Broad Street and Main Street sidewalks, that TDOT multimodal access grant. The original grant was in the sum of $739,000, but since that time, the cost of construction has significantly increased, with leaving the city with a significant financial shortfall. And I'm not sure how this happened, but TDOT recognized the city's dilemma and agreed to grant the city an additional $523,860.87. Those additional funds do require a local match of $21,743.63. And you have a resolution before you tonight authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract amendment with TDOT and accept that additional funding for that 2019 TDOT municipal access, multimodal access grant, and committing to the matching funds. And Mayor Burnett will read that here shortly. The next one on my list is the TDOT Transportation Alternatives Grant, the Courthouse Plaza. That project is still not approved yet. We have three things we've got to do. Our consultant needs to submit the final stamped construction documents, which is underway. The city needs to obtain a final environmental permit certification, and we've reached out to TDOT Environmental Division awaiting their response on that, on what that amounts to. And then finally, the agreement between the city and TDOT needs to be amended to extend the project completion date because we've gone over the time frame. The TDOT local program folks are working on that document, so we should have that pretty soon. The next one is the TDOT Transportation Alternatives Grant, the Cedar and Little Streets. On June 6th, the city of Livingston was awarded a TDOT TAP grant in the amount of, and that's June 6, 2023, in the amount of $217,473, with a city match of $54,359, excluding the cost of design. The city staff met with TDOT virtually last Monday about this grant, and clarification was reached on a few paperwork items that still have to be done. Both the city and TDOT staff were concerned about the cost of construction having increased significantly since the grant application, and TDOT has agreed to have their engineers visit the project and reevaluate the project cost to make sure. Some of the storm drainage items that we proposed in the TAP grant were by necessity constructed as part of that South Church Street project. So some of it's already been done, actually. The next one I'll mention is the TDOT traffic signal modernization program around the courthouse square. We reached out to TDOT to obtain the status of this project, and I've got a little update on that. The state awarded a grant of $485,000, and there's no match to that. That's all state money. It'll cover 100% of the survey design, construction cost, no local match. The first phase of the project will start sometime this year, and then the survey and design plans will get underway the first quarter of 2025, and then the actual construction will probably occur in the first half of 2026. So again, we're up for a long project that hopefully we'll see completed a couple of years from now. But it's underway, as all projects are. Any questions on any of that? If not, I'll go to the next piece. Ray asked me to report on the TDEC site development grant at the industrial park. The consultant S&ME has completed all the initial due diligence. There's a wetlands report is complete, and it's been submitted, and it's now recommended we do a phase 2 environmental assessment, and Tennessee Department of Economic Community Development has agreed and modified its contract with the city accordingly. The mayor signed the amended contract, and we'll bring to BOMA a resolution authorizing S&ME to proceed with the additional work in the January meeting. And that again is off of my agenda, but was something he asked me to report on. Next, I want to talk about the Christmas in the Country. Our first night was held last Friday. It was a monstrous success. All of the local businesses reported that they had record sales. We had a very large crowd. The weather was awful, but everybody weathered the storm. And that probably helped on some of the local merchant sales because everybody went in to get warmed up, you know. A couple of the stores even had midnight sales, and they reported large groups of people that bought from that 12 to 2 time frame, and they reported great results with that. So I think it's a super thing. The next night will be next Friday, or this coming Friday on the 6th. We'll have ponies dressed in Christmas outfits of sorts, and pictures taken with the kids, things like that. Of course, Santa Claus will be there. Then on the 13th, which is the following Friday, we'll have a snow globe, the world's largest snowman bounce house, which I'm very excited about. Toboggan tunnel, roller sledding ride as well. So we have 3 things up on the square that I think they're all going to be set up on the east side of the square. And that'll be fun for all the kids. And then on the 21st, at the park, I believe, we'll have the jumping gingerbread and an Everest climb and slide on the 21st as a separate little program for the children. And I believe that's all, unless I missed something, Mayor Burnett.
I think you hit everything that we talked about, except I think you forgot to say that all the aldermen were required to get in the bounce house on
Oh, I did
Friday.
leave that out. Yes, I'm sorry. That was one of the requirements in the contract.
I heard it's really good for back pain.
The snow globe is one I think that you can get your picture made inside of. You can be
I think it
in
is
part
too.
of the snow globe. That would be a great picture for all of y'all to be in.
What about the mayor?
I'd like to comment on Christmas in the Country. It's the prettiest I've ever seen. Stopped the other night, Michael, a group of city employees up there working, and he said they're just trying to make it like Hallmark. You just drive down through it. And prettiest I've ever seen. It's really beautiful. Everybody done a great job.
Thank you. The city employees did a wonderful job. They really did this year. The extra trees that we had put out there was a part of the project this year. That actually raised a little money for downtown redevelopment. There was a charge for putting a tree up and sponsoring a tree, and that money went back to downtown redevelopment, so we're starting to see some of that pay off. But those trees really added to it, and when people ask, I see a lot of people ask about, where can I go see Christmas lights? I always tell them, go to the square, that's the best place. But thank you, that it is very beautiful.
I went through the square today and I'm thinking that's probably the prettiest town square anybody's got around Middle Tennessee. It's awesome.
Thank you. All right, thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Thanks, Gene, and thanks for your hard work with all of this, downtown revitalization and all of the above. And everyone that worked on it, including the merchants and the businesses that brought booths around. I mean, everybody's participated in bringing people in to Livingston, so that's been great. So Ray sent his information to Gene and me, so I am going to read the resolution that Gene was referencing. That'll be next on the agenda. And this is Resolution 2024-12-1, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement accepting additional funding for a 2019 TDOT multimodal access grant and committing to the matching funds. I may need to wait till Arno gets back so he can hear the reading. But I'll read it if he has questions. Here he comes. Whereas on 8 March 2019, the City of Livingston was awarded a multimodal access grant from the Tennessee Department of Transportation, TDOT, in the amount of $739,000. And whereas said grant was designed for funding of a sidewalk and ADA improvements along sections of East Broad Street and East Main Street. And whereas the cost of construction has increased significantly since the initial grant award, leaving the City of Livingston with a significant financial shortfall. And whereas through its local programs office, TDOT has recognized the city's dilemma. And whereas TDOT has offered the city additional funding in the amount of $523,860.87 with a city match of $27,571.63. And now, therefore, in consideration of the above, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the Town of Livingston does hereby resolve as follows. Number 1, the mayor is hereby authorized to enter into an agreement with TDOT for the additional grant funds grant in the amount of $551,432.50. Number 2, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen commits to the grant match in the amount of $21,743.63. Resolved this 2nd day of December, 2024. Do I have a motion to pass the resolution?
First of all, is it in the budget for the city to be able to pay this?
Well,
Can we afford it?
this will probably be considered in the downtown revitalization budget that we are currently working through based on grant money coming in and reconciling some of the projects that we have for the grant. So,
I make a motion, we approve it.
okay, motion made by Bruce Elder and second by David Langford. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Like sign, resolution passes. Now, who's just going to have to get up and talk?
I'm just going to say, yes, we will.
Yeah. Okay, Shannon was under the weather, so Jean went ahead and spoke on her behalf. So next on the agenda, we have to appoint Beth Geary to the Alcohol Beverage Control Board to replace Jane Ann Officer, who has now become a city employee. So, any questions about that appointment?
Second that.
Okay. Motion made by David Langford, second by Bruce Elder. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Like sign, motion passes. Okay, last but not least, we have Michael Hayes, and he is coming up. We have been leasing a property to assist with some parking at City Park, so he's going to tell us about that.
So everybody knows we're don't have much parking at the ball fields. So we leased Herman Moody property on Chestnut Street last year, and it worked out really well. We've got 6 fields over there, and the league keeps growing every year. So we're in desperate need of that parking. So I would like the Board of Aldermen to approve for us to do the lease again this year, please.
Make a motion, we approve it.
I second.
Okay, that was easy. Motion made by Bruce Elder to approve additional parking, and second by Lance Rubel. Well, I think they're wanting to up it to like 75 this year. So.
We can, like I said, it's Lance, you've been there. I know all you guys is coming through. We definitely need the parking.
It's across the road where they tore the 2 houses down where,
Herman Moody lived there.
yeah, Moody, yeah. Mhm.
We mow it and keep it up, you know, so, I mean, it's a benefit to us to have.
I think we got a motion and a second. Any other comments?
Oh, I second. Oh, did we have a second?
We did. Okay. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Michael. Okay, is there any other business?
I've got something I'd like to bring, probably should have brought it up earlier, but I didn't. Apparently, there's we have an ordinance about signs on the right-of-ways for, like, auction signs. And, you know, it's these guys, it's their livelihood is auctioning and this kind of thing. And to not allow these signs to be put up is kind of, it inhibits their ability to market their properties. And we recently had a sale that affected the bank, that we had an auction. We didn't have it, the family had it, but it affected the bank's income that came in, and these guys sorely needed to advertise the properties. And I don't know where we need to go with this, and I know that there's some ordinances that we're fighting against, and that's one of the things I mentioned earlier, that I didn't understand some of these ordinances that have been brought before us, and the technicalities of where we're going with these. And apparently we voted on it to not allow them, which I don't know if I remember us not allowing these signs or not, but it's a pretty big deal for these guys to have these signs up. And I don't know, I just a comment or two about it. I don't know where to go from here, and if we need to do anything differently or not allow them at all or whatever. But it's been brought to my attention that it's you know, it really is a big deal for these guys to have their signs up advertising their sales. And I guess I'll just leave it at that, just to see if we have any comments about. I haven't heard anything negatively about all the signs, and I'm sure there's lots of them up, but it's a pretty big deal for these guys to have their signs. And I know the city of Cookeville does not allow them, but I think the city of Allgood does allow them for some reason. But
Most of the time
anyway.
they're not up.
Well, they take them down within 24 hours of the sale. They should, 24 to 48 hours of the sale, and they go down. And I know more go right back up because they've got more sales, but I don't know.
If they advertise.
Now, Bruce, I see their signs. Are they outside the city code or something? Is that why you're bringing it up?
Yes, our codes enforcer has told them they can no longer put them up because of what we apparently passed. I'll let you address this.
Yeah, part of the sign ordinance that the council recently passed says that no signs are allowed in the city right-of-way unless it's on private property, unless somebody is standing there holding the sign. So it doesn't single out auction signs or real estate signs or anything like that. It just says you can't put signs in this location unless you have a person there holding it. Now, that's like what we discussed with the food truck ordinance. That's an ordinance that the council passed, which is a law that the council passed, and then the council can change that law if it wants to. Now, it's kind of a long, complicated provision, and we could have a study session or an attorney-client session where we go through it one by one, and I can explain it, and we can discuss it, and you all can decide whether it's good the way it is or you would like to change it. And we can talk about what's legal to do and what's not legal to do. But I understand the concern from some people, and if the council think that's appropriate to address, we can address that.
I would like to bring something maybe to the Board of Aldermen the next time that might have some language that will be palatable for everyone, or at least get it to you, Andre, to let you look at it and see what might work, and then bring it to the board at the next meeting to see if we can get something worked out on this that would be something that would be favorable for everyone, that would be, as I said, palatable for everyone involved. I don't really see the problem with them being out there because, as I said, that's their livelihood, and it's a big deal for them to be able to advertise their product. And and if they get them down within the time specified, I think we can all get along that we would be okay with what we could bring up.
Sure, I think that would be a matter of just changing the provision of the sign ordinance that says you can't have temporary signs in the city right away.
Okay.
And if you want to make that motion, I can prepare that change, and we can consider it at the next meeting.
So would I make a motion tonight, or?
You would make a motion to consider that at the next meeting, and I can
So
prepare
I'd like
that.
to make the motion, we consider it at the next meeting then.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion on the table to consider an alteration to the sign ordinance regarding signs.
For sale and for auction, right? Is that,
No.
or any temporary sign?
Any temporary sign,
Okay,
or
all right.
any signs within the city right of way.
Okay, all right.
We'll address those provisions, and I will
Would
prepare
that-
an amendment to that ordinance that
Would there
I
be
think
a-
addresses those.
Would there be a public comment?
Yes,
period
any
for
change in
Okay, all
an
right.
ordinance is
All right.
2 readings and a
All right, good
public
deal.
hearing.
All right, that's got no problem with that.
Yes.
Well, the auction signs I understood, but now we're throwing in for sale and auctions. Do you realize how many signs from realty companies we would have? It would be overwhelming.
Well, that's what they are right now. I mean, there's.
Well, there's a difference, I think, Bruce, between announcing an auction and having for sale, for sale, for sale.
I concur with you,
Oh, okay.
and I agree with you. But,
Thank you, sir.
But I don't know if we can discriminate between that or not.
That's right, you can't. Either you allow them there and you have to allow all the signs, or you don't allow them at all. You can't say, well, we'll allow auction signs, but we won't allow for sale signs. You can't do that.
I can bring some language, and we can discuss it at the next meeting, if that's okay with everybody. Will that work? Sure. Okay.
Just take a vote to approve the motion.
No, yes. So we had a first, we had a motion made by Bruce about the sign ordinance and a second by David. All in favor of revisiting this at the next meeting and discussing the amendment, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign, motion passes. Okay, any other business?
I'd like to ask a question. Before we do the courthouse, we were talking about Broad Street and the long trucks and how sometimes they're sticking out. And Gene, you may not know, Ray may not even know, and I know the loan can be changed some. What if we just took half that sidewalk space when we laid the new sidewalk? In other words, moved over 2.5 feet to give us more room on Broad Street. And we could request TDOT to move the center line over some. Because the courthouse side of Broad, there's not a problem with the trucks, except you can't see when you're pulling out. But it is a problem. Tonight, there was a Suburban parked there, and they went all the way up to the curb, and a car was beside me. I'm still a pretty good driver, so I made it through, but some people wouldn't have. So just something to consider, not a vote on anything, just for everybody to kind of think about what we could do.
Thank you, and just a comment, I have reached out to TDOT about trucks in town and just maybe looking at that and giving us some advice. I mean, that would probably be a lengthy, costly move to add to it at this point and possibly delay it, but that, I don't know that it would have anything to do with the courthouse project. So.
Yeah, as part of the courthouse project, before we did anything, if we knew this, it would just be a case of moving, because we're laying new sidewalks anyway.
Right.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, you come up through there and those things are sticking out. You've got to get over in that next lane before you know it. And you're going to run into somebody.
Okay, anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn made by Arno. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Alderman Langford. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Like sign. Motion passes.